Abigail DeCourcy, and this is my Discipleship Project presentation. When I first heard about this assignment and the goals, I knew immediately that it had to be something to do with my family and my household. I knew that my husband and I have had some odds and ends about how clean the house is and about the ways and things that I needed to do at home. And there was just a lot of expectations that were not being met on both sides. And so I wanted to make up for this lack that I had been of commitment and priority that I had been giving this issue. And I wanted to change that with this assignment. I also wanted to be a nurturing mother and to try to think about helping my husband more. And once I had decided these things, I had to define them and make sure I knew how to explain it to someone else and how to make it into a goal. An important thing for me to decide was what the expectations were and how far I was willing to go for the goal. So basically, I needed the top and I needed the bottom. I've tried this before, but unfortunately, shooting for perfection is just not something that works for me, like immediately right off the bat. So I needed to find a little bit of a lower ceiling than perfect. I decided that I could compromise with having a few things on the floor. I wanted to try to do vacuum at least once a week and have clean countertops and have a load of laundry done once a week as well. As for being a more loving and nurturing mother, I needed to be able to track how my kids were feeling, and I needed to especially catch myself in anger, which was something I was noticing I had been doing quite a bit, is being angry and not stopping myself. For accomplishments, the biggest thing I noticed was when I was actually successful in following my project and trying to come to my goals, easier to love those around me, and that the clean house kind of reflected as part of my clean spirit. And allowed me to feel more patient and more loving towards my husband and towards my children. And when I wasn't doing what I was supposed to and I wasn't working on my goal, I noticed the opposite. The house was dirty. I was getting more frustrated. I was having less patience with myself, my husband, and my children. And it was just not something that I really liked. The consequence that I tried to work out was not severe enough. I certainly was letting myself be distracted and procrastinating, which is something I should have figured because that is something that has inhibited me in the past. To figure out a way to better encourage this for future goals if I'd like to go on to changes. So I would need to make sure that I prevent and or move the things that were causing me to procrastinate in the way of me cleaning or doing things around the house, or even just thinking of important things like homework in the future would actually limit myself and not allow myself to watch videos or play video games until the chores that I have decided and put about are done. I think that would have been much more of a consequence, actually prevented me from getting things done. As with tracking, mentally, but as we all know, the mind is a dangerous thing and does not keep track of things very well. And went by, I kept track less and less, and I was not able to remember back on the things that I was tracking. So in the future, I would definitely have to make sure I was tracking it physically. I also didn't keep up with my accountability partners. I know that I use the resource, and in the future, if I were to have an opportunity to do this project again, I would make sure that I FaceTimed so I knew that they existed, because as long as I didn't know they existed, it was easy to pretend that they didn't. Actually lacking. I am definitely not, I didn't do very well on this part for sure. And when I held myself accountable, I tended to repent in a way that actually would lead to change, whereas when I blamed it on other things or allowed myself to compromise in the goals, I noticed that I wasn't as repentant, and I wasn't repentant in a way that actually would lead to change. So when I considered the accountability of my actions, I actually felt better about the progress that I was making, and I didn't feel like a failure. Whereas when I didn't feel accountable, or when I wasn't letting myself feel accountable, I actually felt like a failure and like I wasn't progressing and I wasn't doing anything and I didn't want to own up to it. And then that would make it worse and it would just spiral into out of control. But I'm glad that I'm able to, admit that it was not the project was not as well executed as I would have hoped. And that does at least make me feel like I can continue on and make changes to better